Treasury operations that no bank in the world ever kept more exact records than the Federal Treasury, nor was any great bank ever operated in which greater pains have been taken to accomplish an exact balance of its accounts or a more complete proof of accuracy of its records. The system of check and proof is so designed that, once funds are delivered to the treasurer and a receipt therefore taken by the depositor, it is a practical impossibility for the funds to pass unaccounted for. Either they will be still in the Treasury or the Treasury will hold a voucher that will account for their disposition, and if they are still in the Treasury, the official charged with their custody will be periodically and unexpectedly required to submit them to inspection and count by experienced, painstaking, and competent auditors, who will ascertain that every dollar is either present or accounted for. The rule that funds may be paid out by the treasurer only on a warrant that has been signed by the secretary was followed literally until about 20 years ago. The secretary himself, or one of the 4 assistant secretaries acting for him, actually signed each warrant. The task became so voluminous and so burdensome that a subordinate was authorized to sign for the secretary. Warrants for payment of money. The warrants for the payment of federal funds are of 2 classes, viz., settlement warrants and accountable warrants. The former settlement warrants are direct payments and settlement of sums due individuals on claims that have been settled by the federal accounting officers IRS. When a claim has been reviewed and the sum due has been ascertained, the accounting officers submit to the Secretary of the Treasury a statement that discloses the sum due. The Secretary's warrant is executed, countersigned by the Controller, and is paid by a check drawn by the Treasurer in favor of the claimant. The accountable warrant is the means employed to place federal funds to the credit, by way of UCC contract trust accounts of a disbursing officer, your fictional commercial number D servant. That class of warrant is the basis for setting up a credit in the Treasury in favor of the officer concerned, against which that officer may draw checks on the Treasury in payment of vouchers. When the warrant is issued, the officer is charged on the books of the accounting office with the amount credited to him, and the charge will stand against the officer until he either submits vouchers SF-30 and SF-1047 forms that the accounting officers find represent lawful payments or returns the funds to the Treasury. Each such disbursing officer is required to state his account with the Treasury and transmit it regularly, in most cases each month, and thus he is required to disclose the status of the federal funds entrusted to him, by way of UCC contract trust accounts. When funds are thus credited to a disbursing officer, a fictional officer, your servant, per your certificate of live birth, Social Security account, in any department of the public service who is charged with the duty of paying out public money, he is personally responsible for them. He may draw a check in his own favor and cash it, if necessary to make payroll settlements, but such cash as he has in his own possession he must safekeep. The integrity of the officer is guaranteed by the government requirement that the officer provide a surety bond before the funds are advanced to him. Presently, the surety bond is in the form of a UCC contract trust account with an attached surety payment bond and a surety performance bond, also known as a combined fidelity surety bond. The rules and the laws relating to the payment of federal funds are very exacting and require the most scrupulous care on the part of every disbursing officer. He must keep acquainted with all payment regulations, or he will find himself obliged either to recover an unauthorized payment or make it good to the Treasury from his personal funds. Although the rules relating to payments are very strict, it is a fact that if a disbursing officer makes a payment in good faith and the government has been properly beneficiary, it is almost a certainty that the officer will eventually be accorded credit for the payment. The government never intends an injustice. But if a disbursing officer should, through an overpayment in cash, find his account short, there would be no escaping responsibility for the missing funds. He would have to restore them, for the accounting officers would not and could not excuse a shortage. No power except Congress can do that. Supervision of appropriations. Each of the executive departments and independent federal offices has supervision over the expenditure of the appropriation made by Congress for its support. This is where you as the living come into play, as the we the people executive officer. You are the authorized representative over the UCC contract trust accounts. As funds are required by any one of these establishments, the chief authorized representative thereof executes a requisition on the Treasury in favor of the disbursing officer who is to pay out the funds. The requisition certificate of live birth, Social Security account, license, certificate of title, etc. is the basis for the Treasury's placing the funds to the officer's credit. As the warrant credits to the disbursing officer concerned, the latter may then draw his checks on the treasurer up to the full amount so credited. The treasurer cashes the checks on presentation, but has no responsibility for the propriety of the officer's payments. The treasurer's concern is that the check is genuine and that the officer's balance is sufficient. The disbursing officer's check is the treasurer's receipt for the funds he pays out and is the basis on which the accounting officers allow the treasurer clearance in his general account. The treasurer's account to the auditing authorities is the same sort of statement that each disbursing officer submits. In stating his account to the auditor, the treasurer is required to acknowledge each sum for which he has receipted and formally to demonstrate, by submitting written evidence of each payment, that the sums paid plus the balance in his possession equal the precise amount for which he is accountable. The account that the treasurer submits is a summary of the various books of account that are kept in his office and that have been fully proved to be in balance before the statement to the auditor is prepared. Although the statement discloses the aggregates of the vast sums collected and paid by the government during the period to which the account relates, it is as exactly correct as if it related to a single business transaction. The treasurer's account to the auditor is so stated that each transaction is made clear enough to be fully understood. Rarely is it necessary for the accounting officers to make an inquiry as to the meaning of a particular item of receipt or payment. The document itself carries a complete story of what the transaction was. If it is the admission of a deposit, the copy of the receipt tells the story. If it relates to a payment, the voucher shows who was paid, when, how, and why. The accounting plan summarized. Assurance that all monies paid into the Treasury are completely accounted for and fully proved to have been paid out for legitimate government purposes only is, of course, the right of those who are paying the taxes, and the preceding descriptions have been undertaken with a view to such a demonstration. One who wishes to comprehend the general accounting plan should bear in mind that each government depository bank is required to submit a daily statement of its federal receipts, deposits into the UCC contract trust surety payment bonds and payments withdrawals from the UCC contract trust surety performance bonds, as well as the balance of the federal funds it has on hand. From those accounts and the accompanying items supporting them, the banks are charged and credited on the books of the Treasurer's Division of General Accounts. The checks that support the bank's claim for credit are charged to the UCC contract trust account, the surety performance bond of the government officer who drew the checks, and are credited to the bank that paid them and sent them to the Treasury. The two must equal each other. Likewise, the currency that the bank claims credit for sending to the Treasury must be the same amount that the money counters at the Treasury find in the package. If the treasurer credits the remitting bank, the money redemption official who accepts it is charged with, and must account for, that same amount. That, in simple terms, is the way it is known that the funds are all accounted for. The same system of verification and proof exists throughout all the treasurer's money, bond, coupon, and check transactions. Once money is receipted for, the receipt raises a charge, and the trail of it cannot be obliterated. Nothing but a payment voucher SF 1047 that will pass the disinterested officials of the General Accounting Office can offset the charge. The insurrection of the foreign commercial treasury duns courts operating for profits. These duns commercial administrative courts are an imposture court operating for unjust profits in opposition to the constitutional republic courts, which were set up to ensure just bank settlements. The above does not address the initial value of deposited set-up Treasury credits transferred into the independent Treasury UCC contract trust accounts as your individual fictional disbursing officer's credit accounts, as either being postal or Social Security accounts that are held as UCC contract trust funds and/or special UCC contract funds. These were done through the corporate United States Department of the Treasury, with you being the owner/authorizing constitutional republic executive officer over your fictional disbursing officer's accounts. You need a registered mail non-UCC one privately filed to claim your lawful ownership of these accounts, as you were the original constitutional bailer by a signature letter of credit authorization and making the bailment to become the secured or assured party, and per the commercial UCC contract trust, the bailment was placed on credit deposit with your fictional disbursing officer, as the debtor or surety to you to make all payments and charge settlements. This was to be done by using the accounting forms, SF30, SF1047 vouchers, SF1414, SF1416 and / or SF1418. The government can own nothing, for it all belongs to we the people. They only have usage of it upon our consent, and they are required by law to return it when demanded by the lawful owners. You're taking control procedure, using the Republic constitutional laws, and it is also addressed in the Universal UCC laws, Section UCC 2A505 and UCC 9 Choice of Laws. 1. Registered mailed private non-UCC of ownership of your foreign contract trusts. 2. Registered mail transfer of deeds of your foreign UCC contract trust with their supporting ownership general accounting forms. ASF 30 Modification of contract. To be used by the owner to control the contract. BSF 1414, Consent of surety. Owner's control over the contract. Surety, C.SF 1416, Payment bond for other than construction. Contracts. Republic Credit Asset Reservoir Depository, as the collateral foundation for the performance bonds. DSF 1418, Performance bond for other than construction contracts. Was to be used to pay all the bills and taxes. 3. You can demand the liquidation of you disbursing officers' accounts by submitting liquidation checks, SF30S, to the Treasurer. Your non-UCC choice of law is to be protected by the United States People's Republic just banking law jurisdiction. A. The Constitution of the United States, per the People's Article 4. B. The people's rights and powers in the constitutional republic banking system are further addressed and protected by the first 15 amendments to the National Republic Constitution. C. Point 1 St. Volume of the Statutes at Large, 5th Congress. Session 2, Chapters 49 and 50. D. 15th Volume of the Statutes at Large, 40th Congress, Session 2, ch. 249, 1868. The Expatriation Act. E. The 13th Amendment, on involuntary servitude. The commercial banking states and corporate bankers' fraudulent claim of voluntary servitude. Under a UCC contract trust, therefore they claim the 13th Amendment has not been violated. But the true fact is there is no such thing, as voluntary servitude, as no one in their right mind and with given full disclosure would ever volunteer. F. The 14th Amendment, on insurrection, which is the destructive nature of the foreign commercial usury banking system. GHJR 192, which allowed for the transfer of Republic credits to the foreign bankrupt UCC contractors using foreign commercial bondage contract trusts. Non-UCC laws found in UCC 9, which is addressing the constitutional, amended and statutory Republic non-UCC choice of laws and Republic jurisdiction for this nation, as being the superior laws of the United States of America. P.O. Box 1892, Fairburn, Georgia, 30213 USA.